Listen, I went from hating sketchbooks for most of my 20-plus year art journey, but then the dictionary changed my life. I can now say that I have filled 8 sketchbooks in the last 5 months. Today, I'm going to share 5 ways to keep motivated in your journals and sketchbooks, and it starts with that dictionary story. There was a time when I went 4 months without making any art that was just for me. I was in a really low place. I think it's a story that many of us can relate to based on what I've heard from you out there, Watercolor Land community. I couldn't figure out why I felt so unhappy, why grabbing that watercolor paper and brush seemed so utterly impossible, not to mention uncomfortable. And at the time, I absolutely loathed sketchbooks. I never worked in them. And that also gave me anxiety and in addition made me feel very guilty. I heard someone use the word joy around that time, and I wondered what the difference was between happiness, which I didn't have a lot of then, and this thing called joy, because it seemed like it was deeper somehow. So I went to the dictionary. There's a lot of different definitions, but Merriam-Webster says it's a state of well-being or contentment. It relates it to joy, but it's different. Here's where it gets good. Merriam-Webster also says happiness is a pleasurable or satisfying experience. Now we look at joy. Joy is a source or cause of delight. At the time, I was also listening to a fellow artist and entrepreneur, Emily Lay, and she talked a lot about how joy is deeper. Now, trust me, we're getting to the sketchbook thing real quick, because remember, at this point, I'm not finding happiness. I'm wondering what the heck joy is, and I'm not using sketchbooks, and I'm feeling like creative dirt, basically. I realized that happiness is simply circumstantial. Happiness is the job interview that gets you the new job and the pay raise. Happiness is a new car. Joy is that thing that you can tap into, that thing that brings you a sense of delight and accomplishment, no matter what your life circumstances are. And in that time of creative drought, that 4-month-long stint of doing nothing for myself, I realized and remembered that I received deep joy from putting brush to paper. And here's the word that is the clincher for understanding how sketchbooks and journals are so important. I then forced myself to put brush to paper. And yes, it felt uncomfortable for a moment. It felt weird and my hand was shaking. But soon, my mental muscle memory kicked in and I remembered the joy and felt it. So I went from creating nothing to filling 8 sketchbooks. So I'm going to share with you how I made this transition, how I evolved. Number 1, friends, remember that a sketchbook is a playground. It is not a framed piece of artwork. This sketchbook I started in May, and I literally never planned anything that went into it. If a certain plant in my collection was blooming, I recorded it. And then I would smash that up next to a little doodle of my kids' leftover Easter candy. I would start a page and then pick it up 3 or 4 or more days later, and I didn't care. I would start a page with one type of pen or pencil, and then I would bring in acrylic markers. I didn't care. That leads to tip number 2. Stop caring so much. And let me be clear. I want you to care about the practice and the habit, but I don't want you to care about what these pages look like. I'm fully aware that many of my sketchbook pages would be judged harshly by the art community at large. That's what I don't care about. What I do care about is that I did it. Some of my pages are literally just text and scratchy scribbles and abstract brushstrokes. But as I flip through this sketchbook right now, all I feel is a sense of accomplishment and joy. I feel deeply connected to my art practice, and that's what I want for you. Now, it's important to know that in non-dry spell times creatively, times when I'm painting and drawing and sketching a lot, I would just grab for loose leaf pages. I hated the idea of a sketchbook for one really annoying reason. Listen up, this is important. I was annoyed that if I ended up creating something that I really loved in a sketchbook, that I couldn't sell it. I couldn't really frame it, and it wasn't something that I could use to add to my bottom line as a lifelong career artist. And I realized quickly that that mentality was holding me back. And so again, I forced myself to start using sketchbooks so that the artwork in them was purely just for me. So that's tip number 3. Remember that these books are only for you. a dear friend in the community, the Thrifty Apprentice. Go subscribe to his channel. Please, if you haven't already, I call him Thrifty. That's just how it is. He said recently to me, your sketchbook is a playground, nothing more. And if you've heard anything come out of my mouth today, let it be that. So as I got into this sketchbook journey, I actually started journaling when I traveled. And I wasn't even working on watercolor paper. I cared so little about the final result that I was willing to watercolor on drawing paper, as you can see here in my Disney sketchbook or journal. It's actually more of a scrapbook. I was bringing washi tape along with me wherever I went. I was pasting cute little things into the pages that sparked a memory. And this is when my sketchbook journey got really good, because I let it bleed over into the kind of anti-highbrow art realm of scrapbooking, crafty craziness. You know what I'm talking about. It's when you stop thinking so highly of the work you're trying to produce that you really start producing work that is highly engaging, so satisfying, and so intrinsically valuable. Tip number 4, let your journals and sketchbooks be a place to have conversations with yourself. This is a sketchbook I started taking to church, and whatever higher power you believe in, this can work. I started writing down and sketching my prayers for others, and this might be the most powerful experience I've had in the last 5 months. Now, I don't think the freeness I experienced in this particular sketchbook could have happened without first completing some of the others you've already seen today, without subscribing to the idea that these are playgrounds for creativity and nothing more. So if this feels really uncomfortable to you in the beginning, don't be hard on yourself. This will come. Friends, tip number 5 may seem obvious, but you can't get to the playground stage like our friend Thrifty encourages us to unless you're willing to accept messiness in your sketchbook. And I cannot implore you enough. Messiness to the point that you've got paint on your hands, maybe up your arm a little bit. And friends, if that makes you nervous and uncomfortable, that's not going to be your safe space creatively. I understand that. But producing work that on the page feels undone, looks messy by many standards, that is an important part of getting into a groove with your sketchbook and journaling practice. If every page has to be perfect, I fear you're going to get stuck there, and I don't want that for you, because I have experienced such deep joy and such an incredible reconnection with my own personal art making with these sketchbooks in the last 5 months, and I do want that for you. If you want more on journaling and sketchbooks, you need to watch this playlist, because I dive even deeper into every single one of these pages. Happy painting and journaling and sketchbooking.